Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I am many different things. I ran a business for 30 years, and it's still functioning under somebody else's leadership and ownership, doing very well. I build strong foundations. Today, I had to put a post up that I apologize for having shared some disinformation. So I try to backtrack when I've been proven wrong on something, which is not very often. Because I need for people to trust what it is that I say. If you could use your instincts as you're listening to me speak, the least that you should feel is that I'm not lying, or at least I think I'm not lying. I have a degree in political science. I was bred for a military mind control program by the US government. They have not declassified it yet because they still are using a lot of us. Anyway, I have done 30 years of therapy. I've written several books with point specific uh, information with sketches to help people heal from trauma, whether it's mind control or something else. So I'm not just a mind control victim that could still be under control by the government. I'm a mind control victim that has been paying hundreds of thousands of dollars and spending thousands of hours in trying to repair myself so that I can be me and do my mission, which is exactly what it is that I'm doing today. I'm going to share some information. I'm not going to go any longer in terms of me. Um, Yesterday was a 3-3 portal, which means an alignment of, I don't think anybody's exactly sure what it is that it's aligned, but when the numbers align, there's like a door opening. It was a full moon, and it was supposed to be the kind of event that would be triggering enough change in us that it would be like a before and an after moment. The main theme that I was able to see from the people that are astrologers and that study that professionally is that after yesterday, everybody was going to all of a sudden be very spiritual. Kind of makes sense because we're in Revelations, which means that the veils between dimensions are lifting. So you're going to be hit with all the information in the dimensions that you couldn't see before, which includes all the spirits, all the metaphysical stuff, all the gods that you think are just part of mythology and it's just a story. You're going to be hit with a lot of things that were always there. May I strongly suggest that you familiarize yourself with cannabis and that you now take this time to listen to me tell you that the reason there was so much disinformation on cannabis was precisamente, exactly, precisely, so that you would not be functional in the other dimensions. Because cannabis very gently lifts the veils in between dimensions, and you're able to see things that's always there, parts of you that are always there, spirits that are attached to you that have always been there. You'll be able to see a lot of things, but very gently. That is the reason, more than the fact that it's a very cheap assist if you have cancer and all sorts of things, because it reduces the fire element. More than that, and even the CIA admitted it, they don't want mind control victims to use cannabis because they become all of a sudden a lot more operational in the other dimensions, a lot more clear. But that's true for everyone. So yesterday was supposed to be this huge door opening. So we were going to have a mantrista meditation last night. By the time I got to it, which was like at 7, I was so rattled. I said, listen, I can't do a meditation. So you want a traditional meditation, just go to somebody else's platform and I'm not going to be offended. I said, we need to check out what's going on with Iran. So we go ahead and we go to Iran, and it's the usual. We start to, please God help us with our intention to miraculously harmonize the elements. The issue in Iran wasn't the elements a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't the issue yesterday, which I thought was very weird because I have said you can't have a war unless there's excess of the fire element, at which time when I map, I'm going to be sketching red. Not yesterday. Well, now you do see a red spiral, and stuff, but that's not the element. That's the poor people right there in the West Bank and Israel. Their minds are spiraling rage. And the excess, I'll go get to that in a minute. So I asked the dolphins, so there was no excess fire, so why was there a war? It was actually just a mental intention, a decision by many groups that want to destabilize the world, and then they can do all sorts of shenanigans behind the scenes, but they need for the world to be unstable. That's the reason for the war. Bigger picture. So I asked the dolphins about it, and it's right here, which I will put on screen. I asked them about this yesterday, about Iran, and they said that Iran opened a portal, a door to the underworld, and wants to block the planetary evolution. We are now in quantum leaps having to do with frequencies, the ascension process, we're going into the golden age. In the Bible, they call it the city of gold. And we're right there. So this kind of makes sense, especially because when we went to Iran yesterday in our working session, what I could see, and then afterwards, a few of the other people could see also, was Iran basically is a portal to the underworld. It's completely open. It's not like there's a door. It's almost like the entire country is open to the underworld. It's a portal, which is very large, really big. The country is not small. And it reminded me, because of the Clintons being questioned, and the issue, what did Hillary Clinton really want, having to do with Benghazi? She really wanted Gilgamesh. I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced. I should have written it down. But apparently, what it would appear from things that are appearing in X, what it is that they were looking for was particular historical objects having to do with having an everlasting life. So there was invasion, but it had to do in Iraq, it had to do with metaphysics. It didn't have to do with what is fed to the public. And then now we have Iran and the information of the biggest issue with Iran, which needs to be shut down, absolutely, has to do with the fact that they have a portal to the underworld. And I'm sure they're working that portal, which means they're benefiting from it. They're working with beings that are there. And then I remembered when I first started to have my memories about being a mind control victim, I met up with a person who told me a lot of things. But she triggered me to where I did a little bit of research, and I found out that the Second World War was the first war, modern war, that was fought with metaphysics. Metaphysics means first cause, which really, you could say it's the spiritual stuff, the stuff that's not physical, which can be positive or negative. So it was the first war that was fought with metaphysics. The Nazis were in love with human history and objects of power. I am told that they went to Tibet because they wanted to work with the Bon masters in Tibet, which are supposed to be some of the best magical shamans in the world. Supposedly the Bon masters disappeared. They hid and they weren't able to find them. By the way, I was trained by a Bon master, but I was sent there by the CIA. And the Bon master agreed to take me as a student, and I lived with him 3 months, 6 months. I have no way of knowing. That was when I was 10. So Second World War was the first modern war fought with metaphysics. Now we have something going on right now in Iran, which has to do with metaphysics. One of the interesting points is, I have been talking about, and I've talked about it here on this chat in English. It becomes a podcast, and I've talked about it for the last 4 months. I have had the Vatican and the Cuban cartel that have been doing rituals on me. without needing my physical body. And lately, I have perceived they're working in two different countries. Um, and what they were trying to do, you have an assemblage of bodies, which I'm going to flash on the screen very quickly. Every one of us is all of this. I am also all of this. In the rituals that were being done, they were separating my bodies. And ultimately, I believe the intention was to take my consciousness, my knowledge, my abilities, and insert it into somebody else who's not even close to me, probably another country. And I had mentioned that I thought that the culmination of what they were doing, and it wasn't very successful because I could see them arguing about the fact that I kept waking up in the middle of the night and that I was supposed to be losing strength, and that wasn't happening. I was just getting stronger for whatever reason. And last night, or the second going into the third, was supposed to be the ultimate part of this process. And I had said it many times on my chats. And one of my followers said, I think I know what ritual it is. And I was like, whoa. She sent me a document, which is on my website. When I read it, I said, that's what they're trying to do. Are every single one of those details what they were doing? I have no way of knowing. But is that what they were trying to do? Yes. Which is basically information that's 5,000 years old, that's from Sumeria, which is today Iran. And it has to do with an older person wanting it not to die, wanting something from a younger person or not. I don't know if it said knowledge. There wasn't that much detail, but I will put up the name before we finish now in this chat. So what they've been doing to me now is a ritual that comes from Iran, but from 5,000 years ago. And I find out 2 days before this whole thing happens with Iran. That is not a coincidence. It's almost like a stringing information together for me to understand how important it is to look at the metaphysical aspect of this war and then explain it to you. In the Nuremberg trials, it was determined. My control for 30 years was in the Nuremberg trials. He wasn't on trial. He was one of the Americans there. It was determined in the Nuremberg trials to not let the public know about the magical, spiritual, metaphysical part of the Second World War having to do with the Nazis because they didn't want people to worry their pretty little heads about that. It would scare them. No, it's not going to scare them. It's going to give them information, which is what I'm trying to do in this incarnation. I went through what I went through in order to acquire a very high level of knowledge in order to be able to share it, to connect the dots. Like I'm connecting the dots between what the Vatican was doing in the hospital here in Miami, what the Cuban cartel does, to what's going on today in Iran, but what's been going on for 5,000 years. And the public still doesn't know it. Now, did I think that everybody believed me when I said what I said? No, I'm sure most people didn't. But you know something? That information is already inserted into their computer. Now they have a place. So the more people that talk about Iran and what it is that's actually going on there, the more people are going to be able to have a place to start connecting the dots. Now, every time I see people looking at the dollar bill and saying that eye that's there, that is what is the Illuminati, the whatever. Why don't you start to find out what all of that is really all about? Because maybe there's a lot there that would be useful for you, such as what you're looking on screen on both sides. There's a sigil that I had made that's for, I'm wondering if this is the correct one, for financial stability. It's supposed to be. The Vatican has worked so, and the Cuban cartel, so much on my eyes, I can barely see. There's supposed to be, I'm not sure if I put up the wrong one. There's supposed to be, oh, it's there, a crystal, and then there's the eye, and then there's a triangle. The more that you know about metaphysics, the more you're going to be able to understand what's going on, especially from here forward, now that Revelations is going to show everything to everybody. But the more you're going to know about yourself, the more you're going to know about the parts of you that get sick. When they talk about alternative medicine, they used to talk about preventive medicine, but oh no, we can't say that. That means it's effective. Yes, it is effective. And why is it effective? Because it's not focusing on your physical body as being the issue. In alternative medicine, acupuncture, herbs, all the rest of that, they're focused on your other bodies because that's where you get sick. And it's easier to take care of an energy body that's not physical. I remember several times years ago, now I've become a little bit more diplomatic. I'm not going to ever be very diplomatic. But I remember that several times I would see, like, somebody when I gave classes or when I used to get together with groups, which I don't anymore, somebody would walk towards me and I'd look at them and all of a sudden I'd say, you know what? You're going to have cancer in 2 years if you don't make a change. What are you talking about? I said, I don't know, but you already have cancer in the other dimensions. And I had two people come back to me after a couple of years and say, you were right. You were right. So that's what preventive medicine is about. So I'm talking to you about how efficient it is to be knowledgeable in the other dimensions. We have turned over our power to what we call our religions. Well, we're not going to be able to do that much longer, not with what the Vatican turns out that they use that information all the time for satanic rituals. And I'll say it again, they've been nonstop for 4 or 5 months on me. And I'm sure they have done it before because they work closely with the Cuban cartel. And the Cuban cartel is like this with the Vatican since the Bay of Pigs and since Operation Peter Pan, the largest modern sex trafficking operation until that point. Today, Biden basically got that spot. So what is it that's going on? And let's look at the two maps that I did yesterday, and then we finish. What do I want? What do I want for you to take away from this? You are not being given the information about what's really going on because you don't have a place to put it. In the Nuremberg trials, which was what, 60 years ago, they said, oh, we can't give that to the public. It'll scare them. So I suggest you take a homeopathic remedy called Trameo, which reduces fear when you become frightened, or a flower essence that's called Bach Flower Essence Rescue Remedy. I suggest you take a lot of walks in parks and hug a lot of trees for your fear level to go down so that you can have the power of information. Information is power. The Buddha supposedly said that the basis of human anguish is ignorance. Ignorance is not having the information. And it has been purposely being held from you. And then the nice guys come around and they're going to tell you something, and it makes them sound like they're crazy. They are not crazy, but you don't have a place to put the information. And you're so quick to pick up a stick and say, that's satanic, or that's the devil, or that's whatever it is that you might say, because you just can't, you don't have a way to classify things. You don't have a place to put any of these things. So you need to hurry up and have a much wider lens and become more aware. Let's do the two maps. Nope, not that. Let's do the United States first. This was yesterday. The United States is in full-fledged wave of hatred for Jews. I did not want to write that statement, but I am not the one who determines what should come out in these maps. My guides, who have a lot more wisdom than I do, they guide me. And that is what came up. You have the jagged line. We lost our frequency. We're now into massive depression, jitteriness. We don't have the protection of the Galactic Federation. We don't have the green with Elon and with Trump. We don't have the green in. We have a horrible jittery frequency, a wave of hatred for Jews, and then a message to Trump and this country, the military. Back off now, or in 8 days, you will never be able to back off. Now, I wrote a book years ago, and when I modified it, that statement got lost. But what I said, I made a statement there that I knew was so important. And I said, you need to put people in positions that correspond to their intentions and their training. You can't put military people in charge of making decisions for whether to go to war or not. You can't. You can use the information they give you, and you absolutely should, but they cannot be making those decisions. And when it comes to running a country, let's say they go in and they take over because the bad guys had to be gotten out, they can't be the people to run it. Why? Because those are not their intentions. Their intentions have to do with war. Yeah, but they're good people. I don't care if they're good people. Those are still their intentions. Their willingness to go to war to defend. Whereas people who don't have that training are more likely to make different decisions because that's not part of their toolbox. So, Trump, I strongly suggest you not let your military people who are looking so satisfied. I'm not talking today, but after they did the takedown in Venezuela and they did the initial bombing of Iran, they were so pleased with themselves. Okay, they did a great job. Well, now we can do even better. They shouldn't be making those decisions. They shouldn't be there when the decisions are being made. Now, you can't make a decision without knowing what it is that they know and without getting their recommendations. But the people making the decisions cannot be so buddy-buddy with the military because it creates an intention and it creates a wave to where your intention can just become synchronized with all of these military people. Now I kind of understand more why the military is so involved in metaphysics. Why the program I was in? Why? And by the way, I was told with this program that what the Nazis did when they started the mind control program, the program I was in was a continuation of a Nazi program. Aren't we proud of that? We took advantage of something that already had a plan. And now we apply it to other people. So we have to be careful who it is that whoever is making the decisions is not running around totally flanked by military people, because then the intention becomes military type control. And nor should the military ever be involved in anything that has to do with sacredness and metaphysical things. It's not a match. So you saw the United States map. Let's go to Iraq, Iran, Israel. Here's the map. Now, these are spaceships. What you see in purple, those are spaceships. And that color is of the highest order, which means that the galactic beings from off planet, the ones that you guys are still arguing about, do they exist? Do they not exist? They do exist. They have different vibrations. These spaceships are of the highest order because they're purple. So in Iran, what we have is hatred for the West. That's understandable. In Israel, in the West Bank, you have a spiraling of rage. And then Syria has a lot of black magic. I'm not even going into that. You saw that the message from the dolphins, and here we go with the whole thing of, Francis, why are you sharing these things? You know, people just classify you as crazy. They don't believe you. Okay, but you know what? I'm kind of old. I went through a lot to get here. I went through a lot to find out that, and then to share it. So just the fact that people can classify me as crazy only says that they're going to be saying the statement that I came up with years ago, which is when people would come back and say, you know what, you were right. You were right. You were right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Because when I said it, they didn't fit. And then it worked out on the physical dimension. And then they were like, oh my God, you're right. And the phrase I came up with, the crazy lady's not so crazy. So this crazy lady is not so crazy. Going back to the map. So when we were working in Iran the other day, and then again last night, Jesus showed up. Now, okay, so Jesus showed up. We have a lot of spirit guides, and we work a lot with dragons. Oh yeah, oh yeah, mythology. Why do you think they make us learn mythology? Why do you think people that are in the deepest part of the military and in politics know all about mythology and they have their favorite creatures and their spirit guides, and you don't? You don't. You don't have that benefit. And they are the same people that worked with the bad galactics to get all that high level technology that the Nazis had. And I intend on doing my part and teaching people how to be able to deal with the good galactics so that they can take advantage of their advanced knowledge. Going back to the map. So Jesus Christ showed up when we did the first clearing on Iran, where I was puzzled because there was no excess fire. I didn't get it. And when we brought out the symbols that are on each side of the maps and of me, which is a sigil, Jesus started to cry. And then he went and he sat with with his back up against a tree. And last night he showed up again, which generally Jesus does not show up at our healings. And I have not put him as part of my SWAT team because I don't want people saying I'm using Jesus and this blasphemy that I would associate Jesus with Anubis, the god of the underworld. Oh my God, Anubis, Iran. We got to get to work with Anubis. I didn't think about it till right now. So Jesus showed up again. And then you know what he did? He sat at the base of a tree again and he opened the Torah, Torah, which is the sacred, like the Bible, of Judaism. What's the message? That you should go back to the Torah? No. The message is that you need to go back to basic spiritual teachings that some people classify as religious, but they're spiritual teachings. And that would include all the stuff in Sumeria, all that black magic. The thing with black magic is this. I recognize that I learned more about teaching about creation of reality and white magic through this when I would clear my followers who had black magic and curses done on them. And I became fascinated by how gifted and creative the witch doctors and curanderos and the paleros and the santeros, how creative they were when they wanted to take somebody down, and how pinpointed their intentions were, reinforced by rituals, etc., and stuff like the details are not um, on that page that I'm going to. Oh, here it is. I have it right here. It's in Spanish, but you can look it up in English, obviously. Here it is. This is the name of the ritual. And it's a Sumerian ritual to transfer consciousness. And Maso has put up Sumeria was the earliest known civilization. Wow, I did not know that. Emerging in southern Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, not Iran. Between the Tigris and I get those two names. Wow. Between the Tigris and Euphrates. Okay. That's in the chat if you want to look at it. This is the ritual that the Vatican and the Cuban cartel was doing on me today, 4,500 years ago. No, we're not going to do math. I'll tell you a cute story about me not being able to do math, but some other day. So what we have going on now is a war. I'm not sure why we have a war going on, except that a lot of people wanted it. Well, we have it. The message to Trump and the United States is you need to stop it now, because in 8 days you're not going to be able to stop it. You're not going to be able to. I suspect he's going to be able to stop it. But it's not over. It's not over because so many people know so much more than the people here, especially here in the West, about metaphysics, which is where power is. Your power is not in your physical body, and it's not your bank account. When you die, somebody else gets your bank account, your physical body go. It's someplace else. It's in the other dimensions, and the people that understand and know how to travel and work in the other dimensions have it all over you, and it's entirely too many people. You have it's like a telenovela, those Hispanic soap operas that they have on afternoon TV, except in Spanish, they have them at night. And it's very honorable to watch them, or it used to be. I don't know if it is today. If you go to somebody's home and they're watching the latest episode, it's very rude for you to interrupt them. You sit there and watch it with them until that particular episode ends. But that's what your other dimensions are like. It's like a telenovela. It's like a soap opera, but you're not in charge. Now call in Anubis and maybe you can get some protection. But anyway, um, Iran is a portal to the underworld. Iran is a portal to the underworld. Okay, so I think that that's it. I'm not sure. I'd like to think that I was not all over the place. This is extremely concerning. Um, I expected for things because they were going so smoothly for this country. I expected for things to continue to go smoothly. But I was told decades ago that my life was going to get better at the end, but that everybody else's life was not going to. The future's elastic and plastic, and I hope that that prophecy is wrong, that all of our lives get better from here on out. And then let me remind you that the message from the dolphins yesterday was that the person that could help with this is Jesus, which of course is not so comfortable for me. I like Jesus, he's a shaman. That's not the issue. Um, the issue is the marketing that was done about him. So we will go back to Iraq. What helped was visualizing the sigil that you're seeing next to me, which is for financial stability. It's not to protect your kids. It's not if you get sick. That's not what it's for. The intention that it vitalize this piece of ancient technology, which is called a sigil. The intention is to create financial stability. And I literally produced it for the United States because of everybody saying that all the markets were going to collapse and da 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 da. So what we did was we put it underneath all the countries in the Mideast and on top of the countries in the Mideast, like it was like a sandwich. And the sigil works. You should try it. Print it up and try it. And we're working on a next sigil now, just to let you know, because of all the portals that AI opens. AI opens portals to Orion. And you don't even know that they're open, except everybody kind of knows there's something weird about AI and there's something you can't trust. But every time you use it, you're in a portal. That's not good. So I am designing a sigil that you should put on your computer, on your cell phone, on every single document, on everything that AI could possibly be near, which at this point is basically everything. So anyway, let me finish with you. We are in an interesting place, and knowledge of yourself that is in the other dimensions, knowledge of your countries that is in the other dimensions, such as when I put up the sketch of the United States, frequency, not good. That type of knowledge means that if you actually want to fix something, you can work in those dimensions where the issue was created and the issue can be taken care of very easily. Today, I was told that because I have produced so many music videos with frequencies that are healing, that the music industry is paying attention to me, but not the regular music industry. Masons in the music industry are paying attention to me. They don't like what I'm doing because the thing that heals you the quickest are frequencies, and the thing that makes you sick the quickest are frequencies. What frequencies are making you sick? Wi-Fi is a frequency, 5G is a frequency. Go to YouTube, say you want to listen to the sound of Wi-Fi, and then multiply that 50 times around you from every electronic object, and you will see that that cannot be very good for you. But that being said, good frequencies can help to offset. And that's where we need to go. So we use music, sound, but also images to change the other dimensions. And when you do that, because of the law of attraction, the bad guys have a hard time holding their power because their environment is not supporting it. Let me call it quits now. I'm a bit at a loss with this thing with Iran and the 8 days. Okay? Thank you for listening.